We have just finished UFC Fight Night, Holloway vs. Allen, in Kansas City, Missouri. Max Holloway has won the fight via decision. This was a big win for him and shakes things up in the featherweight division. Both fighters are at a crossroads. Let's see where they go and what happens from here. Welcome back to Vamp Rants. I've had to take some time off for work, but I'm glad to be making videos again. If you don't mind, please like, subscribe, and comment below. Now let's begin. Let me tell you about this dude, Max Holloway. So, he was born in Hawaii on December 4th, 1991. This man did not have it easy growing up. His parents were abusive and they were into crystal meth. But even with all that craziness going on, this guy, as a teenager, was all about fighting. Like, he started training in kickboxing in 2007 and 3 days later he won his first amateur bout. Like, seriously, that's nuts, right? But wait, it gets even better. In 2011, he won the lightweight championship for X1, which is this Hawaii-based MMA promotion. And then, get this, he signed with the UFC in 2012 when he was only 20 years old. This guy is one of the youngest fighters to ever get a UFC contract. Now, he isn't just about fighting, he's also about giving back to his community. He's done all kinds of charity stuff for the Hawaiian community, and he's all about raising awareness for mental health issues. He's incredibly popular. He's got over 1 million followers on Instagram and over 200,000 followers on Twitter. Oh, and here's another thing about this dude. He's all about his Hawaiian heritage. He puts all kinds of Hawaiian symbols and culture into his fights and walkouts. It's pretty cool, actually, and despite his tough upbringing, this guy is a total role model. He's dedicated to his craft and his community, and everybody respects him, both in and out of the cage. Have you heard about this guy Arnold Allen? He's a pro mixed martial artist from Ipswich, England, born on January 22nd, 1994. And get this, his mom nicknamed him Mowgli because he was born in a nursery with a Jungle Book theme. Oh, and he also goes by Almighty because of a sponsorship deal. Seriously, this dude has some awesome nicknames. So anyways, Allen started training in mixed martial arts as a teenager and competed in several amateur fights before turning pro in 2012. He competes in the featherweight division of the UFC and has a record of 17 wins and only 1 loss. But it's not just about the wins for this dude. He's got some serious skills like impressive striking abilities, takedown defense, and submission grappling. And because of his high-level performance in the cage, he's earned a place among the top featherweight fighters in the UFC. And here's the thing, despite all his success, Arnold Allen remains super humble and dedicated to his craft. He's always looking for ways to improve and push himself to the next level. It's pretty inspiring, honestly, and with a bright future ahead of him, Allen is definitely a rising star in the world of mixed martial arts. Before he made it to the big leagues in the UFC, he was crushing it in the European MMA scene. This dude had a record of 9 wins and only 1 loss. So, get this, his pro debut was in April 2012 and he knocked out Nathan Grayson in the second round of their bantamweight fight at UC MMA 27. Then, he moved up to featherweight and won a unanimous decision victory over Carl Orris at UC MMA 32 in February 2013. He kept winning after that, finishing Andy Green with a rear naked choke in the first round at CWFC 56 in July 2013. And it doesn't stop there. He had an impressive run in Cage Warriors Fighting Championship over the next year, winning fights against Declan Williams, Donnie Miller, and Tobias Huber. He even won the M4TC Lightweight Championship with a TKO victory over Paul Cook in November 2014. Sure, he suffered his first loss in June 2014, losing a unanimous decision to Marcin W. Arzosa at CWFC 69, but he bounced back with 2 more wins before getting signed to the UFC in 2015. Let me tell you about Max Holloway's start in the MMA scene. Before he made it to UFC, this guy was already killing it in the regional MMA scene in Hawaii. He had a record of 4 wins and 0 losses. So, in September 2010, Holloway made his pro debut and won a unanimous decision over Duke Saragosa in his lightweight debut at X1, Heroes. And get this, in November 2010, he won by knockout over Bryson Kamaka at X1, Island Pride. He kept winning after that, too. In March 2011, he earned the X1 Lightweight Championship with a split decision victory over Harris Sarmiento at X1, Champions 3. And then in July 2011, he won a unanimous decision victory over Eddie Rinkin at UIC4, War on the Valley Isle. Overall, Max Holloway's successful start in the Hawaii regional MMA scene helped him develop the skills and experience he needed to eventually compete in the UFC. Let me tell you about Max Holloway's journey in the UFC. He made his debut at UFC 143 on February 4, 2012 in Las Vegas, Nevada, but unfortunately lost via submission to Dustin Poirier in the first round. But he didn't let that defeat get to him and came back strong with a unanimous decision win against Pat Schilling at the Ultimate Fighter live finale on June 1st, 2012, also in Las Vegas, Nevada. And it didn't stop there, this dude continued to impress. In August 2012, he won by TKO over Justin Lawrence at UFC 150 in Denver, Colorado. And in December 2012, he won by split decision against Leonard Garcia at UFC 155 in Las Vegas, Nevada. However, he suffered another loss in May 2013 against Dennis Bermudez at UFC 160 in Las Vegas, Nevada, where he lost by a split decision. And then, the big one, his fight against Conor McGregor at UFC Fight Night, Shogun vs. Sonnen in Boston, Massachusetts on August 17, 2013. Unfortunately, this was another loss for Holloway, as he suffered a unanimous decision loss to McGregor. Max Holloway's UFC career really started to take off after his initial losses. On January 4, 2014, at UFC Fight Night, Saffiedine vs. Lim in Singapore, he won with a TKO victory over Will Chope in the second round. He followed it up with a submission win against Andre Fili via guillotine choke in the third round at UFC 172 on April 26, 2014, in Baltimore, Maryland. Then, on August 23, 2014, he won via TKO in the third round against Clay Collard in their catchweight bout at UFC Fight Night, Henderson vs. Dos Anjos in Tulsa, Oklahoma. He kept the momentum going with another impressive win on October 4, 2014, in Stockholm, Sweden, where he earned a Performance of the Night bonus by knocking out Akira Corsani in the first round. And it didn't stop there. On February 14, 2015, he won a unanimous decision against Cole Miller at UFC Fight Night, Henderson vs. Thatch in Broomfield, Colorado. But his biggest win yet came on April 18, 2015, at UFC on Fox, Machida vs. Rockhold in Newark, New Jersey, where he earned another Performance of the Night bonus by submitting Cub Swanson with a guillotine choke in the third round. Max Holloway's UFC run has been nothing short of impressive. He won his first round TKO victory over Charles Oliveira at UFC Fight Night, Holloway vs. Oliveira on August 23, 2015, in Saskatchewan, Canada, due to an esophagus injury. Then, he won a unanimous decision against Jeremy Stevens at UFC 194 on December 12, 2015, in Las Vegas, Nevada, and defeated Ricardo Lamas via unanimous decision at UFC 199 on June 4, 2016, in Inglewood, California. But that wasn't enough for Holloway. He had his sights set on the championship belt. And in December 2016, he won the interim UFC Featherweight Championship by TKO via body kick and punches against Anthony Pettis at UFC 206 in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. He went on to defend the title twice, first by defeating Jose Aldo via TKO at UFC 212 on June 3, 2017, in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, and then again at UFC 218 on December 2, 2017, in Detroit, Michigan, United States. And then his biggest fight yet. He defended his UFC Featherweight Championship against Brian Ortega at UFC 231 on December 8, 2018, in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. And he didn't just win, he dominated. The fight was stopped by the doctor in the fourth round, earning Holloway the Performance of the Night and Fight of the Night bonuses. Max Holloway's recent UFC fights have been a roller coaster of wins and losses. He started with a loss against Dustin Poirier for the interim UFC Lightweight Championship at UFC 236 on April 13, 2019, in Atlanta, Georgia, where he lost by a unanimous decision but earned the Fight of the Night bonus. Despite this setback, he bounced back with a unanimous decision win over Frankie Edgar to defend his UFC Featherweight Championship at UFC 240 on July 27, 2019, in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. But the championship didn't stay with him for long. He lost it to Alexander Volkanovski at UFC 245 on December 14, 2019, in Las Vegas, Nevada, and then lost a rematch against him at UFC 251 on July 12, 2020, in Abu Dhabi, United Arab Emirates, via a split decision. However, he bounced back with an incredible performance against Calvin Kattar at UFC on ABC, Holloway vs. Kattar on January 16, 2021, in Abu Dhabi, United Arab Emirates. The fight was a brutal display of Holloway's striking ability, and he won via unanimous decision in a Fight of the Night bout. Unfortunately, in his most recent fight, Holloway suffered another loss against Alexander Volkanovski for the UFC Featherweight Championship at UFC 276 on July 2, 2022, in Las Vegas, Nevada, where he lost by a unanimous decision. Overall, Max Holloway had his ups and downs in the UFC, but his determination and resilience helped him grow and become the champion he is today. Arnold Allen's UFC run that began with a win over Alan Omer at UFC Fight Night, Jacek vs. 10 on June 20, 2015 in Berlin, Germany. He then went on to defeat Yaitsin Meza via unanimous decision at UFC Fight Night, Silva vs. Bisping on February 27, 2016 in London, England, followed by a split decision win against Makwan Amirkhani at UFC Fight Night, Manuel vs. Anderson on March 18, 2017 in London. He earned a Performance of the Night bonus when he submitted Mads Burnell with a front choke in the third round at UFC Fight Night, Thompson vs. Till on May 27, 2018 in Liverpool, England, and defeated Jordan Rinaldi via unanimous decision at UFC Fight Night, Till vs. Masvidal on March 16, 2019 in London, England. He won by decision against Gilbert Melendez at UFC 239 on July 6, 2019 in Las Vegas, Nevada. Arnold Allen's winning streak in the UFC continued with a victory over Nick Lentz at UFC Fight Night, Blades vs. Dos Santos on January 25, 2020 in Raleigh, North Carolina. He then defeated Sadiq Yusuf via unanimous decision at UFC on ABC, Vettori vs. Holland on April 10, 2021 in Las Vegas, Nevada. In his next fight, Allen earned a Performance of the Night bonus by defeating Dan Hooker via TKO with punches and elbows in the first round at UFC Fight Night, Volkov vs. Aspinall on March 19, 2022 in London, England. Most recently, he defeated Calvin Kattar via TKO due to a knee injury in the second round at UFC Fight Night, Kattar vs. Allen on October 29, 2022 in Las Vegas, Nevada. Throughout his UFC career, Arnold Allen has won the Performance of the Night award 3 times, earning it against Alan Omer, Mads Burnell, and Dan Hooker. He is also tied with Alexander Volkanovski for the second longest win streak in UFC featherweight division history, having won 10 consecutive fights. Max Holloway's accomplishments are extensive. He has been awarded the Performance of the Night 4 times for his fights against Akira Corassani, Cub Swanson, Anthony Pettis, and Brian Ortega. Holloway was the first American to win the UFC Featherweight Championship and has tied for the third longest winning streak in UFC history alongside John Jones, Demetrius Johnson, George St. Pierre, and Habib Nurmagomedov. He also holds the record for the longest winning streak in the UFC featherweight division history with 13 wins. Holloway has fought in the UFC featherweight division 24 times, which is the second most fights in its history. Out of these fights, he has won 18, making him the fighter with the most wins in the division's history. He also holds the record for the most TKO wins in the UFC featherweight division history with 8, and the most finishes in the division's history with 10. In addition, Holloway is tied for the most post-fight bonuses in the UFC featherweight division history, sharing 9 bonuses with Cub Swanson and Yair Rodriguez. He holds numerous striking records in the UFC, such as the most significant strikes landed in a fight in UFC history, with 445 landed against Calvin Kattar. Holloway also holds the record for the most overall significant strikes landed in UFC history and most total strikes landed. Holloway has also spent the most total fight time in the UFC featherweight division history, with 6 hours and 12 minutes, and the third most total fight time in UFC history, with 6 hours and 50 minutes. Additionally, he has achieved many more remarkable feats, such as the most significant strikes attempted in a fight in UFC history, the most distance strikes landed in a fight in UFC history, and the most significant strikes landed in a round in UFC history. Now we get back to the question from the beginning. Where do we go from here? I think Arnold Allen's next fight should be the winner of Movsar Evloev versus Bryce Mitchell. I think Max Holloway's next fight should be the winner of Emmett versus Ilya. Who do you want to see these two fight next? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching and I appreciate the support. Please like and subscribe if you can. I can't wait to make more videos for you and I hope to see you again in my next video.